Hey everybody, happy Valentine's Day, happy Friday. Whew, I I'm ready for the weekend. Uh I was looking forward to a week of everybody feeling healthy, which we did not get, but I did get a writing retreat this week. My heart breathings videos, it's been like 2 weeks yet again since I've had a heart breathings video, but I'm here for our live stream and that is a win. Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? So, the new hat, I got a hat at Magnolia when we went. Uh, Joshy Corinne is peeping my books back here. Hello, hello, my friend. I'm so jealous of whatever you were doing with the. Do you say oh hoo hoo? You have to tell me how you say that if I'm saying it correctly. But Joshy was just doing like tons of swatches of markers, and I'm like, were you in an office where you're doing a collab? Because I'm very jealous. Yeah, so I went on a writing retreat this week. I went to Waco. I said it right. Yay. I went on a writing retreat to Waco this week with my friend Megan, and I was very excited because I was hoping that I was going to write like 3 episodes of the book. I did get a lot of writing done. I got 12,000 words, even though we had to come home a little bit early. So that was good, but I'm changing the beginning of the book. So I'm like kind of rewriting it. But you know what? Here's the thing is sometimes that's part of the process. And when you are working through the beginning of a series, the beginning of a book, sometimes even the end of a book, you can have an idea for those, like some people plot, some people don't plot. Some people have a loose idea of the plot and then will outline kind of as they go and let the story lead them where it goes. My friend, my friend Ines calls those people panty liners because, okay, if you are not a writer, I'll explain it very quickly. People who just sit down with a loose idea and just go fly by the seat of their pants, we call pantsers, right? And people that plot are called plotters, but there are actually a lot of things in between. So my friend Ines, who writes romance, instead of saying planters, which you hear people say, somebody just said I'm a plantser. You'll hear people say I'm a plantser, which means kind of like I'm a plotter who pants stuff as I go. And my friend Ines calls them panty liners, which I just think is so funny because it's like you a little bit of going by the your seat of your pants, but then you need a little bit of an outline. A lot of people who are pantsers will eventually have to stop and plot. So I have a really good friend that is like that. I'm like, yeah, I don't necessarily want to be a panty liner either. We can call it plantsers because that's nicer, but it does make me laugh. And in this day and age, I think we could use all the laughs we can get. Hello, hello, untamable fire. I'm so glad you're here. I also sometimes call myself a puzzler, which sounds like a Batman villain, which I'm okay with, because I often write out of order. So if I'm writing and then I can envision, like if I get stuck, sometimes I will skip to a last scene of the book and I will write from there and then work my way backwards. And sometimes that will give me a little hint of a character change or something else, and I will go from there. So I like to do all of it. I am definitely a puzzler, but not always. But I resonate with the idea of being a puzzler because I like to plot, but I can't plot linearly. I have to plot like I'll skip scenes and say, well, I know this is going to happen later. I know this is going to happen later. And it makes a lot of sense to me that the idea is a puzzle, the story is a puzzle. And I am having so much fun with the idea of writing this story in terms of a serial. And today, well, actually yesterday, so let me back up just a little bit. On Monday, I left, I think Megan got here around 1. So we drove to Waco, got to Half Price Books and did a few other things till we could check into our place, which was very nice. And yes, there is a vlog coming for that. And for the last few years, I haven't had any friends to go away with to write. I used to go away with friends all the time. And it was so nice to have a friend to go with, although I get less done a lot of the times because there's other people. Like I can't just write all I want because they're like, let's go to dinner or let's do this. But it also has a little bit more balance to it it because you have that opportunity to not overwork yourself. But the place was super nice. It also costs half as much because someone else is splitting the cost with you. So we did kind of take it easy. I did a little bit of plotting the first night on Monday night, and I wrote a couple thousand words. And the goal was to do 16 sprints, which is 8 full hours of nonstop, like only writing on Tuesday, which we did. And I got about 10,000 words written. But I didn't like the setup. Like the whole first episode, I was like, I got to rewrite this. And then even after I rewrote it, I was like, nope, I don't like this either. And so a lot of the words that I wrote will be thrown out. But I wanted to mention this, and I'll mention it for anybody that watches the vlog too, that sometimes it's just part of the process. And sometimes we can think, especially in this day and age where it's like the faster you can write, the better. Is the way it seems. It's not always true, but that's the way it seems. It's like the algorithm's going to reward you for as fast as you can publish something and as fast as you can write. And this is going to come, this will come back in terms of the gaining momentum, by the way. I will stick to the topic to a degree. But yeah, I want to encourage you that if you are also someone who is a creative person, whether you're doing art of some kind or writing or bullet journaling or anything else, that sometimes you start the best you can. And if you try to make it absolutely work perfectly on paper, sometimes you're just wasting time by spending too much time trying to make it perfect. And so if you've been stuck in an outlining phase just because the plot isn't coming together, try just getting in and writing it, because I would not have hit the point that I'm at now, which I'll talk about in a second, if I hadn't had that dedicated time to write it wrong. And I knew when I was writing the first scene that it wasn't right. It wasn't a strong enough hook or setup. And especially because I'm working on a Mirror of Shadows, which is going to be the first piece of my serialized story that I'll be reading here for you guys on YouTube. It will come out as a book. It will come out as an audiobook. It will come out as a paperback. It will come out as all those things, but it will come out here first and on Spotify as a podcast. And because I'm going to be reading it chapter by chapter, I want that first episode to be so juicy and good and full of conflict and full of, oh my gosh, like what just happened kind of energy, that you have to come back for the next part. And I want it to feel really fun and really exciting. And I want you to love this character, but also be like, oh man, this is a really tough situation. And I knew that the setup that I had for this wasn't quite right. But sometimes you can't figure it out until you keep going. And then once you get the piece that you're like, oh, I see what's not working, it will open your eyes. And so sometimes the process of creation is to just create it messy and create it wrong and create it even when it's uncomfortable, when it's not flowing, when it's not coming out, even when you're writing it and you're thinking this is the worst thing, this isn't good enough, to just keep going because it will eventually come together. And so I left the writing retreat. Well, I get a call from George at like 6 p.m. on Tuesday as I'm writing that says that they just left dinner and Evie puked all over the car. Sorry, I should have probably said something for those of you that are eating donuts or something. Evie got sick again. So it turns out it was not the flu, which was my biggest fear. It was just another stomach bug. But the car was rendered completely unusable for several days. And literally like 10 minutes ago, we had a car detailing service come over to clean the car because it was unusable. It was so disgusting. But George, I was asking George, do I need to come home? He said, no, it's fine. I got it. Super dad. He's so good. Andrew seemed to have a fever the first night, but then he also got better, never had any kind of stomach problems. So I think he was fine, but it has just been one thing after another this year. Is like ear infections, strep throat, pneumonia. I was afraid this was the flu hitting us. It's just been one thing after another, but we were planning to stay most of the day Wednesday to keep writing. I ended up coming home as soon as I could on Wednesday because even though he is super dad, she's still a little one who wants mommy when she's sick. So I was with her and up. It's like, how do my eyes look? I used Visine, but I have been up quite a lot. And it's just part of like rolling with it, right? And listen, this is what I'm hoping. Hopefully that she will have an immune system of steel. It's like, I really do think that some of these kids that were born during, the pandemic, and they just didn't get a lot of, like, she was literally around no one but us for the first 2.5 years of her life. Like, she was born in September of 2019. And so she was just a couple months old when everything locked down. And I think that, oh, thank you, Jennifer. That's very sweet. I was just really like, I really think that a lot of these kids that were in that stage are they're just getting through those illnesses that they would have gotten, when they were littler, and they're just getting their immune system. She was born during a hurricane. She's my little storm-born girl. The entire city was evacuated. I was the only woman laboring at the hospital, period. And then we were only at the hospital for like less than 20 hours total. They were like, we never let a woman come in and leave like less than 24 hours. However, if you want to go home, you're going to have to go now. And like, we got home, and I think an hour later, the power went out for 3 days, which was actually a little bit nice because it was like our own little family cocoon. But yeah, that was funny. Thank goodness she was born. Like, I had a vaginal birth after cesarean, because if I'd had a C-section, I would have been in the hospital for a while. Oh my gosh, Jennifer, that is devastating. You'll never forget that, I guess. Yeah, a bit of a shut-in, and it's very easy for me to get sick too. Yeah, I understand that. It's like when you're not exposed to it, it can be difficult. And somebody actually messaged me. I'm not sure if it was somebody from Coffee Chat, but somebody messaged me on Instagram and said that last year they just took all their kids out of public school and started homeschooling because it was just one illness after another, and now they haven't been sick. And it's like, not everybody can do that. Obviously, I would not be able to homeschool my kids full time. However, it has occurred to me, Evie has been out of school this year, something like 16 or 17 days, because she has been like out of the whole school year. It's just been awful. So I'm like, okay, let's hope that kindergarten is better. At least she's only in pre-K. So it's, it'll be fine. Oh my gosh. Kay says, my 4-year-old had 2 weeks since September where she hasn't been sick. Yeah, it's been a long year. It's been a long year. But which brings me around to we're going to talk about 2 things today in terms of my plan. Although I feel like an hour goes by so fast, I could just sit here chatting with you guys forever. I have a bunch of stacks of books that you guys have already been noticing, because I thought I'd talk about some of the stuff that I'm reading right now and like some of the things that are in my queue, because that's one of my big goals for last year and this year, is to continue to read more, because I just wasn't reading much. So I will tell you what I'm reading, but also to talk about, if you are in a phase of your life where you feel like you just don't have momentum, like for me, for example, putting out consistent YouTube videos this month will be, I always have to kind of think back, will be 8 years since, no, I started in 2018. So this is my 7th year of YouTube. So this is my 7-year anniversary this month, like next week, my 7-year anniversary of doing YouTube. And I have pretty consistently had 1 or 2 videos up a week, sometimes 3, for those 7 years. And there have really only been, even though we were traveling for part of it, there have really only been a handful of times when I have not had some kind of upload. But it feels like, because of these sicknesses on top of everything else that has been going on, I just have not been able to do it. And it's been a question of, and George calls it growth. I call it stress to a degree. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I call it a little bit of stress, but there have been times, the reason that has been consistent uploading is because I have just been like, I don't care if I feel bad, I've got to get a video out, because that is the commitment that I've made to it, right? However, there have been times over the last few months, like with the Rough Draft Diaries in November, and trying to push myself, where I've just thought, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore, because I realized that some of the reason that I was pushing so hard to get more videos out wasn't because of a commitment or anything like that. It was because of a fear that people will abandon me, or that people will be upset, or that people will, stop watching my videos, or that the algorithm will forget me. And I just have been thinking, I'm so done with that energy. Like, I am here, and I will show up to the best of my ability when I can, but I cannot sacrifice my own health for YouTube. And when we talk about momentum, there's a scary thing that happens with that, because it's like, oh my gosh, we all know the algorithms when it comes to our books, to our posts, to our social media, to our money, to our courses, every single piece of our life that is online, that is controlled by an algorithm, favors fast and furious. Oh my gosh, Carrie, I love this so much. The truth is, I published my first Hobonichi cousin video, I believe, on this channel, Sarra Cannon, in 2017, or maybe even January 2018. And that did so well. I was like, oh, this was just a test video. So I recorded another one about how I plan using a Hobonichi cousin for my Heart Breathings channel. And it did so well, like right from the beginning. And I was like, yes, this is so exciting. So it's so good to know that somebody is still around like 7 years later from that video. But it is growth, but it's also scary growth, because it's like, oh my gosh, what if all this momentum that I have worked all this time to hit is going to leave me because I am not showing up? Now, there's a fine line to a degree of, oh, I love this one too, the circle casting Bujo video that was here on this channel, which is really exciting. I want to do another one of those. I'm like, oh, I need to redo that. That sort of spell book that I was creating, my witchy bullet journal. But I feel like, when I'm trying to get momentum, so many things are based on numbers. And if I have typically 1,000 to 2,000 new subscribers on Heart Breathings a month, and then I haven't posted anything for several months, I think for the last 30 days, I'm at 200 or 300 new subscribers. And that starts to feel scary. And so when we think about, like, if you can think of what that means for your own life, like, what does it feel like to lose momentum? And sometimes it's because of illness. Sometimes it's because of grief. The algorithm would make a great villain. How can we write like a cyberpunk thing where the algorithm is the villain? I like it. I like it. But yeah, I agree. It's oh, I love this too. But of course, I mean, I will say this is coming from someone who's gained what, like 30 to 40,000 subscribers in the past less than a year. I'm watching your channel. It's like 120,000 subscribers. I'm like, holy cannoli. I've never hit anything like that, like hit a wave where things have just taken off. It's like consistent or slow. I try to treat it as a case of, even if I lose momentum, I built it before and I can build it again, likely quicker, because I have the skills, which is true. And I'm not giving you a hard time. I'm just jealous. I'm jealous. But you're putting out a lot of great, consistent videos. And I know I haven't had the time to dedicate to the great, consistent videos, right? And there's a couple things. So that's one element of it, is like, when we see other people that did have the time, or did make the sacrifice, or did show up, and they're seeing momentum, sometimes it can make us feel jealous. It can make us feel frustrated in our own performance. It can make us feel like, what's wrong with us? Like, we're judging ourselves for not building our own momentum. Like, oh, look at that channel, look at that person, look at that writer. I wish I could do that. And just, allowing ourselves to get mired down in that feeling of comparisonitis, which is tough. And also just looking at the numbers, looking at the outward results of, if we had to slow down, what else has been slowing down? Maybe money is slowing down. Maybe, maybe relationships have been losing touch. Maybe you were losing weight and now you're not losing weight. Maybe you were seeing really good progress with some habits and now they've all fallen by the wayside. There's lots and lots of scenarios where we lose momentum. And I think about the fact that, an object in motion stays in motion. And an object at rest stays at rest, right? This is like physics 101 kind of things that we learn. And I think about that in terms of my own life, that sometimes we are in rest mode, and a lot of things around us will also go into rest mode, unless we've just like had a little bit of luck, or we've had something else that has been fueling the engine, so to speak. But sometimes it's an external loss of motivation and momentum, where you're seeing less numbers, less money, less outward things. And sometimes it's just an internal, like the engine is slowing. I'm burned out. I need rest. I don't feel passionate about this right now. I don't feel excited. There's other things pulling my attention. And so any number of reasons why we can lose that momentum. And so I wanted to just share some of the things that tend to work for me, because I have been in this situation many times where I can make a choice. I can either convince myself that a loss of momentum is my fault and it's never going to get better and I'm stuck, and I'm, allowing myself to sort of spiral into a negative mindset. Or I can take the rest I need, trust that everything is going to be fine and that this is a season of rest and it's going to be okay. Like right now, out in my entire yard, 5 acres of land, there is not a single flower. But I know that like a month and a half from now, there will be nothing but bluebonnets everywhere. And those seeds, I can have faith will, from last year, will bloom. And I might not see the evidence of it right now, but I know and can trust that it's coming because it happens every year, or it happens in cycles, or because, like Jess said, I have done it before and I know I can do it again. And so I try to give myself the grace of like, okay, I'm allowed to feel a little bit salty about being sick. I'm allowed to feel frustrated. I'm allowed to feel just tired and to rest and to do the things that I need to do. But then also, when I feel ready to rebuild that momentum, there are some tried and true things that I can do to gain momentum. And it doesn't have anything to do with any outward piece. It has all the things to do with what's going on in my own mindset. And I wanted to kind of share that a little bit today, if it's helpful. So one of them is, I like this too. It takes a little bit to get back up to speed, but it doesn't mean your car is broken if you can't hit 80 miles per hour the second the light turns green. You get whiplash anyway. I need to screenshot that. It's so good. Yes, it's like, if you've had slow momentum, all you need is just a little tap and you will start to go. And then we're always, even if we feel stuck, we're always either going up or we're going down. We're either moving forward or we're moving backwards. They say either get busy living or get busy dying. What's that from? And that is so true. It's like you can create your own momentum, but you can't always expect that you're going to go from 0 to 80 over 1 or 2 seconds. But sometimes I will say it can be like a rubber band where you just pull back and you're taking your rest and you take the time that you need. And then before you know it, just everything shoots forward, because you can trust those seeds that you planted in the past. And you can trust the fact that getting that rest that you needed was all you needed. Yeah, maybe it is from Shawshank Redemption. I was thinking it was Matthew McConaughey too, but then I was like, get busy living or get busy dying. I think that might be a Morgan Freeman thing. Is it? Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. I love that. I think that is so true. Is like, where are you outsourcing your own momentum and joy and positivity? And where are you allowing yourself to be the engine behind your own positive feelings? And so some of the things that work for me, like I said, taking the rest that I need and just surrendering to it. Like it doesn't help me to be super stressed just because Evie's sick again. You just say, okay, well, I did the best I could, whatever. But another thing for me is 100% about alignment. And I notice so often, we've talked about this before on this channel, but for me, and this is going to be a little bit more woo-woo than some people might appreciate, but just stick with me. But for me, when I've noticed that like numbers are down, things don't feel exciting, I'm just getting stuff done on my to-do list, but it feels like I'm pushing a boulder up a mountain, there is something out of alignment with my energy. I am on the wrong path. I have stepped onto somebody else's desires. I have started people pleasing again. I have been ignoring or not listening to some kind of voice inside me that says, this is where we need to go. And sometimes it's self-sabotage. There have been many, many, many times in my life where I've looked at it and been like, well, that was on purpose, somewhere in the deep depths of my, traumatic induced brain, where it's like, okay, I'm I've had too much momentum and I got scared and I sabotaged myself and I made mistakes. And sometimes you just got to give yourself grace on that too. And then there are just other times where it's like, oh, I've gotten off the path. And so when I start to notice patterns in my life that make me believe that I'm messing up, that I'm not doing well, that I'm losing momentum, that I'm getting scared and I'm getting wrapped up in fears, sometimes I really have to just sort of take a night where I take some deep breaths. I sort of cut my cords and say, okay, let's get what's the right word for it? Let's get reoriented to the life I'm trying to live, who I want to be in the world, and what it is I'm going after. And let's take all these things that I feel like are truths and sort through them and say, what really is real here and what isn't real? Like, is it real that I only have 300 new subscribers? Yes, that is real. But is it real to say that now I'm never going to take off again, or that I can't have a video go viral next month that gives me 10,000 subscribers? Also, does it matter if there's only 300 new subscribers because there's like 77,000 other people and that's enough, right? It's like, why does that really make me feel panic? Why does that make me feel? And you can use this for anything in your life. You can say, okay, is it true that there was an extra expense and now I have a little bit less money, or I'm getting down to the wire? Yes, that is true. But is it true that I'm really in trouble or that I'm no longer safe? Maybe it is true, maybe it's not. Is it true that I have no support or have no way of making new things? And start to sort through and say, what is real? What is a choice? And what is just a made up story in my mind? And so I kind of will sit down and journal some of those things of like, what is really important here? What is really bothering me? What is really feeling tough? You bought eggs today. Oh my gosh. Eggs are so expensive. It's ridiculous. And this is true. It's hard to know if you're scared or you're on the wrong path, which is true. I think that sometimes if you're in that place of like, am I on the wrong path or am I just nervous? Is this just making me afraid? That's where you need a little bit of time, for me anyway. I don't know if this is true for you, but you could try it, to say, this is when I need to take a little bit of a break from any kind of external output. And I need to listen to the voice that's telling me the fears and all the things that are making me nervous or making me, afraid, or that are making me feel like I'm unsafe, and sort of listen to, is this truly a like, Sarah's new income stream is selling her chicken eggs. Is this really true that, like, is this voice feeling really, really frantic? Or is this a voice that is really telling me, like, deep down in my soul, this is not the right path for you, right? Or are all the fears that come up? Because I think there's a difference between when you really tap into your own intuition, there's a difference in that voice. It's like, is it your own voice or is it the voice of someone else? And are you afraid of what other people will think, or of what the external, like, if that you won't get where you wanted to go, that you won't be as popular as you thought, that you won't make as much money? Like, those are all external types of worries and fears. Or when you really tap into your intuition, is there something that you go, I don't think this is really what I want? And it feels very different, but it can feel the same until you sort of turn around and take a deep breath, I guess. But it can be hard to move forward when you're feeling that fear, because it's like, what if this just isn't right for me? But so I do that where I take a night and I sort through all of those things and I say, okay, these are the real fears. These are things that I've just made up and none of it is real. And so how can I begin to recenter, refocus, and start thinking about, what is it that I want to do in my life, and who is it that I really am trying to be, and how have I lost sight of that? And that kind of thought is so, so important for me to stop. Now, I am somebody who gets a lot of energy out of thinking about the future. So if you're not like this might not resonate as much with you. So I'll tell you otherwise. I gain momentum in a minute, but I am all about vision boards and thinking about the future. And a lot of times when I sit down and I just ask myself those questions of like, okay, here's the fears, here's the things that have been standing in your way, but who is it I'm trying to be in the world, and what is it that I'm most grateful for that is right now in my life right now? Like I had mentioned, I went to a celebration of life funeral service for a good friend last weekend. And then my friend lost her dog this week suddenly as well. So not only did she lose her husband, she also lost her dog. And that dog was getting her through her grief. And it just breaks my heart. And when you really stop and you sort of reorient yourself and you rethink, like some of you might actually have things like that are going on, and that is difficult to get over, and you need potentially other resources to help you get through it. But I was able to say, okay, what can I do to give to her? And then how can I be extra, extra grateful for the fact that it's just an illness and we're going to get over this and this isn't permanent. And like, I have the opportunity to change some of these things. Like, how can I get 100% back to a place of gratitude for myself and the things that I have going on in my life? And then how can I also begin to focus on how can I be a support for the people that are in my life, for the people that need me, for the people that, like when I think about YouTube, and I'm just using this as an example. I'm not like totally stuck on these numbers, I promise, but it's just an easy example. If I think about my YouTube channel and I think about, oh, I'm in a period of slow growth, it's like, okay, well, let's stop thinking about the growth and let's just start thinking about what do the people that follow me on YouTube need from me right now? How can I help support? How can I help build community? How can I continue to connect with those people that are really feel like part of my family right now? So those kind of things, like focusing on other people, focusing on service, focusing on care, focusing on gratitude, and take your focus away from things like numbers or evidence that you don't have momentum. And it can also super, super help to when you're trying to gain momentum in your own life to just have a daily gratitude list and not have it be something that is just, okay, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for my kids, but just really sit down and do like a overflow and get yourself into this place where you're like, wow, I really do have so much to be grateful for, and let it let it marinate into your heart where you're like, don't allow any thought of the things that aren't going well or the things that you don't have. And like every one of us, no matter what you're going through, has something that you can think about that you used to want or that you used to worry about that you don't have to worry about anymore, or that you used to dream of that you have in your life right now, or that you can at least say, well, at least my car is working. At least I have a roof over my head. At least I have this. And just start thinking through what your life could be like if all that was taken away, and think, I'm so grateful I have this right now, and getting into that place of gratitude. Shell says, I totally recommend daily gratitude lists, a game changer for me. I think that getting to that place of gratitude, then also thinking about a place of service, to getting in service for other people. And this is true. It's all relative. It's like slow growth or no growth. I am living the dream. And so many of us can look at that and see that. It's like, oh, well, maybe I didn't increase my income, or maybe my income is down, but oh my gosh, I get to work from home and be around my kids, or, whatever it is, like refocus yourself, like kind of like, how sometimes you're playing Monopoly or something, and it's like you draw something that's like, go back to the start, or like in Sorry, when someone sends you back to your home base or something like that, send yourself back to your own home base and say, okay, let me clear the decks a little bit. Let me get rid of the like thing that's in my head that I just can't stop thinking about. And let me get back to a baseline of like, these are the things I am so grateful for. Like, yeah, this is so true. If you travel, or if you volunteer your time at homeless shelters, or if you volunteer your time to like help feed people in your community or provide for other people that have so much less, you will begin to see just how good you have it. Because I mean, there are people that really need help out there. And when we're able to sit now, for some of us though, I do know I have a friend who, it's like, if it helps you get into that gratitude place, that can be super helpful. However, I do also acknowledge that, like, I have a friend who when she starts to think about how bad other people have it or how bad it is in the other world, she doesn't get into a place of gratitude. It just sends her into a place of depression. So just be careful of your own needs when it comes to that. Cause I understand sometimes it can be like, now I feel helpless because I can't help all those people that need my help. So sometimes it's better to just focus on, instead of thinking about your comparison to other people's situations, just sit and make lists compared to your past self and think, I'm so grateful I have this. I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for this. And really put your whole heart into it. If you can be of service to other people, really starting to think, how can I, like, I don't care about the numbers as much as I care about following my passion. And I was having a meeting with Amber McHugh, who is, you guys probably heard me talk about her. If you haven't heard me talk about Amber, you have not been around long enough. Actually, I maybe not talk about her around in this channel as much, but Amber McHugh is my business mentor. I'm in a mastermind that she leads, and we have been super, super close friends now for years. And we were in like a 2-hour meeting and we were discussing kind of that sort of recentering. So this is another piece of it, is going to the people that you love or the people that are mentors or the people that help you think clearly and getting a plan in place for, how can I now gain momentum and build momentum? For me, it's in my business. How can I build momentum in my business? How can I get clarity? And something that I started to realize after, kind of this awakening that you guys have been witnessing over the last couple of weeks, if not couple of months or years, I don't know at this point, of just like, what am I really going after? Because for a long time I was thinking, I'm going after fame. Like, I want to be rich and famous. I want to have, it's not just fame, obviously, but it's like, I want to have a large impact. I want to help change people's lives. I really want to build communities. I really want to make a difference in the world on a larger scale. I want to have that TV deal and have my stories go out there. I want to help people pursue their dreams. Like, I have all this like external things that I want to shape and be a part of. But so often it comes down to like, well, I want those million subscribers or million whatever. And I have to keep pulling myself back from that, thinking, is that really what I want? Or is that the traumatic little girl in me? Somebody mentions Parts Work, which I actually bought that book, but I didn't bring it in here when I talk about this. But there is that part of me that is a little girl that was taught that if I'm not good at the very best level, that I'm going to be denied love, or I'm going to be told I'm not good enough. And then when I do achieve big things, I'm also still told it's not enough. And so I recognize there's that little girl part of me that's like, well, maybe if I do a little bit more, she'll love me. Maybe if I do a little bit more than that, okay, well, I did my best and it still wasn't enough. So let me do a little bit more. Let me please a little bit more. And so there's that part that's trying to take control, that says you need more subscribers, more money, more impact, more sales, more this. But then when I really step back and think about what I truly want, the truth of it is that I just want to be able to create fun and cool things in the world. Like, I want to be able to show my planners. I want to be able to create really cool stories. I want to delight and surprise people and have fun. And I want to laugh and smile. And I do, like, I am, if there's something that I'm truly passionate about, it is, I want to help people go after their dreams and be the person that they always wanted to be. And because that's what I'm trying to do too. And I want, like, it's so hard when you know you want something and you have such a hard time getting over your own self-sabotage and your own doubts and your fears to actually go after it. And I'm like, that's what I wanted. I want to figure it out for myself, and I want to help other people get there. And even if it means being messy on screen or anything else, that is what I want to do. And it doesn't really matter if it's 1 million people or 5 people. It really matters that I give of myself to that degree and that we experience this together. And I feel like when I think about it, thank you. I feel like after getting those messages from you guys, that's what we're doing. We're doing it together, right? And that's what really means the most. And so those numbers don't really matter anymore. And so once I can reorient myself to that, I can now enlist the help of other friends and say, okay, I don't need 1 million subscribers or anything like that. How can I really focus in on this community, this creation, this fun? How can I focus on telling the story and having, just having a good life? And the truth is, some of the authors that I see that are really, really famous, they travel so much. They hardly see their kids. Their lives are under so much scrutiny. It's like, is that really what I want? Like, I would love the millions of dollars that they're making because you can make so much impact with money. And I would love to travel the world in that way. And I would love to have that many people reading my stories. But like, I don't know that I really care so much about having like that life exactly. And those dreams and goals will change. But I think that when we think about momentum, sometimes we're stuck on the idea of something someone else told us to want. Like Janine just a few minutes ago said, I thought that I had to be famous in order to start my career, right? So sometimes there's things that we think are necessary for us to be loved or for us to get started or for us to keep moving forward. And yeah, I just want to be happy. I just want to enjoy life. I just want to enjoy the people that I live with. It's so freeing when you just let the rest go. And I think it's yes, it's difficult when the most readily available, like, there's no meter on YouTube or in my courses or on my bathroom wall that says here's the metric for how many lives you've changed, or here's the metric for the good you've put out in the world today, right? But there are definitely in your face metrics, and there's a message for those of you that don't have YouTube. There's a message in the back end of YouTube where they're giving you analytics about your latest 10 videos that you've uploaded. And they're telling you like for the first 10 hours that this video has been out compared to all other videos that you've put out in the last 10 videos, where does this video rank in the last 10? And so it'll be like probably the last 2 or 3 videos that I put out have been a 10 of 10 message. So it will say a message like, less of your normal viewers seem to be clicking on this. This video is 10 out of ranked number 10 out of your last 10 videos. And that type of metric is just difficult because it is very, very clear to see when you're not performing as well as you could. But if it's a 1 out of 10, you know what YouTube does? Fireworks. They literally have little fireworks that go off on the back end, like, yeah, you did very good. And that's a frustrating metric because it is very in your face of like, you're doing good. Oh, you're not doing so good this week. And it is our job really to step back from that and say, that does not matter to me as much as this. Like, I have literally been smiling for the last 45 minutes, and the names that I see on the chat here, I know you all. And even if I see a piece of your name, I know your full name because we have emailed each other. You have taken courses. I have seen you in my groups. Even if it's pen names or other things, like most of you, I know you. And I feel like this means so much more, even if YouTube is not going to say, you have this many friends. You have this many people that are now your friends. And this is what really matters. And so when we start thinking about gaining momentum, it's a matter of like clearing out the trash that's in our mind that is lies about who we think we need to be loved, what we think we need to accomplish to get started, where we think we are on the journey, because there's no journey to any goal that just looks like a straight trajectory. Like maybe there have been some authors that have, had big wins. There are YouTubers that got 100,000 subscribers in 2 days, or, there's always people that you see with those trajectories, but eventually they have their ups and downs because that is what life is all about. We're going to have ups, we're going to have downs, we're going to have sick days, we're going to have other things like that. And so I love this. Jennifer says, it's about gaining momentum on the things that matter to you, not the external metrics, even though those are important and it's fun. We love to see a orange flag that says your book is a bestseller. We love to see good reviews. We love to see things like that. But there is no book that is the number one best-selling book every day, all the time. There's always ups and downs. And when we're in a down season, sometimes our minds can convince us, especially if we have had really hard times in our past, our minds can convince us that now we're going to be in a down cycle forever. And we can begin to catastrophize that to say, what if it never comes back up? What if I can't figure this out? And the more we allow that negative thought to continue to spiral, the harder it becomes for us to gain momentum in our lives. And so when I think about really regaining momentum, I think about first taking that step back and getting back to the joy of it. Okay, what could be fun for me right now? How can I release the stress? How can I not let this be a big deal? How can I get myself back into alignment? So a lot of times, like I said, when things are spiraling downward or I see like numbers aren't looking good, things aren't working right, it's almost always actually a blessing. It's almost always a message from the universe that is saying to me, you are out of alignment. Not that I have manifested negative things. It just means like when and this is part of my human design, which we could do a whole video on human design if you guys want. I could see if my friend Kyla wants to come in and talk about it. But part of my human design is that the way I build momentum in my life is by basically pleasing myself, which does not sound right. That's not exactly what I mean. But just like the more I can lean into my own joy, the more I can lean into the things that light me up, the more it will resonate with everybody else, right? Like now I'm gonna blush on screen. But that is part of it. It's like the more that you can make yourself happy, the more you will be a light that radiates out to other people. And I'm telling you, this is the magic. I just got chills thinking about it because this is the magic of I know I was like, I'm snorting. The magic of letting yourself get aligned because I was journaling about that exact thing. Like, oh my gosh, I got to get back into alignment for myself. I got to read the books I want to read. I have to just surrender to the fact that Evie's sick again. Who cares if it's a couple weeks till a YouTube video? Because the next one's going to be my fun writing retreat. And then I'm going to really start talking about the things that are happening. And I'm not going to allow myself to get into a negative spiral because I need to rewrite this piece or because I need to, anything that I need to do. And it was a big growth moment for me, even though there was no external anything. It was a big growth moment for me. And you know what happened? Literally 2 minutes later, I turned on a podcast, and one of the first things that she said was the word radiant. And in the context of your energy is radiant when you are happy. And I was like, boom, that's my word of the year. That's a sign from the universe that says, yes, you're right. Let's get back into alignment. Let's focus again on the joy, the fun of like, instead of focusing on, oh my gosh, this isn't coming together fast enough. And by the way, the second, like I told you guys, part of the Broken Chapter Society thing that's for my founding members came in wrong. So I had it redone wrong again. So I'm having it redone again, and it's frustrating. It's taking longer than I thought. The book, I was hoping to start reading the book in February, not happening. But I have this amazing ability to get back into my shadow demons world and to immerse myself in the fun of writing this story. And the more I started building that momentum, saying, okay, well, that's just the way it is. And everybody who literally joined the Broken Chapter Society are like my top fans. They're going to understand and they're going to be excited when it comes and it'll be fine. So I just decided not, like, everybody who was a founding member is still a founding member. But I'm not going to let it bother me. Those things are coming. And what's funny is part of the founding member thing is that you get a 6-month bonus. So like by the time you get your 6-month thing, you're going to get another mail for that. But anyway, it was just that fun of it again, and immediately got that word radiant on there. And then I got in the shower, and immediately I was like 2 minutes in the shower and the whole setup for this book came to me. I was literally laughing with like giggling with joy, like childish joy in the shower. And I cannot even tell you how long it has been. I mean, I had moments like that with Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw when it was finally coming together, but it was just like, boom, it hit me. The setup for this, I was starting it wrong. Like, so good. And I had a meeting with Becca, who's helping me edit this story and like keeping me accountable this morning. And she was like, oh my God, I love it. This is so good. This is 20,000 times better than the original. And I just know that when I start writing this, like I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, it's Friday night. It's Valentine's Day. I don't care what else is going on. As long as George doesn't mind, I have to sit down and write this. And that feeling of like, I'm so excited to write this That's where the alignment is. And I don't think I would have gotten to that idea if I hadn't released some of the pressure of, oh, the timeline and the stress and whatever. And I hadn't reoriented myself back to alignment with, why do you want to tell this story? It's going to be fun. It's going to be momentum. It's going to, like, the thought of when you guys discover some of these twists. And for those of you that have been part and have read the Shadow Demon saga, some of these twists, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, because they are going to resonate throughout the entire Shadow Demon saga and make things make sense, that it's just going to be fun. And it's my favorite thing to do, to make those connections. You don't have to have read the Shadow Demon saga. You can read this separately, but for the people that are excited and that have read it all, it's going to be like extra bonus fun. And when I get back into that alignment, it's like my whole body lights up, and then things start coming together. And suddenly it's like, this fell into place, this fell into place, this fell into place. And that is the beauty of realigning yourself and gaining momentum. And so if there's one thing you remember from this, it's just that if you are out of alignment and you know that you're self-sabotaging, or you're not following through, or that you've lost your own joy, one of the best things that you can do is try, even if you're like, I know somebody had mentioned, I'm in depression. It's very difficult, and I understand, and I'm not trying to make light of that in any way, that you can't just lift yourself up, because depression is depression and it can be insidious. But if you can just find even one thing to focus on that you're grateful for, and just one habit that you can begin to implement, or one place that you can say, where am I out of alignment with something that I just know that I need to focus on? Where can I realign that? It can begin to just like dominoes falling over in your life, that just things will begin to look better and spiral up. And it doesn't mean it's every single thing, but it can start a trajectory of good things. I have not been to check my mail, but I have gotten, I think, like 10 or 12 more packages. So I'm guessing there were some birthday gifts. We will try to go this weekend to go pick them up. So thank you. Crystal says, I can't wait. I think I've read them 6 or 7 times at this point. It's my number one favorite series. I love that. Book 2 audiobook is coming. And so this is the thing, is I let go of the timeline, and we do have Aqua notes, but you know what we do is we write each other love notes. I don't write. We just write like, I don't know, missed you while I was gone, stuff like that. But I should write story stuff in there too. If you don't know what aqua notes are, they're literally like paper that doesn't get messed up, and it comes with a little pencil and a little sticky thing, suction cups that you can put in your shower. They're very cool. Look them up. Amazon has them, I know for sure. They're very cool. But anyway, I keep them. I like keep all my aqua notes because we'll draw each other pictures. I don't know. It's silly. It's like I will literally see you in 2 minutes when I'm out of the shower, but we're also going to leave each other notes. But yeah, just see if you can find some of that alignment and some of that spark of joy, because you will begin to see things align. And when I sat down this morning with Evie finally feeling better, George made me a fire before he left this morning to take Andrew to school. And I was sitting by the fire, and I took out my calendar, and I realized that the way the schedule between the audiobooks, the large print format, and this new story will work out could not be more perfect. And if I had rushed it, or I hadn't waited, it wouldn't have been as great. And I'm just so excited for it. And so I'm rebuilding and regaining that momentum. And it doesn't mean that life is easy. We got some bad news today. We're going to work our way through it. But there's glimmers of momentum that will begin to show back up in your life when you take responsibility for realigning yourself with your own joy and your own purpose, and inching away as best you can from the habits that are struggling for you. Vellum does allow you to do large prints. Very easy. All right, we have 6 minutes, 5 minutes remaining. I do want to show you the books that are here, so we're going to do this really quickly. Chalk markers is a really good idea. Okay, so I have some writing things. It's like, how am I going to do this in 5 minutes? I don't know. We'll do it very quickly, and then maybe next week we'll talk more about them. So some of the next writing things that I am reading is, I have read this before at the beginning of my journey, but I'm going to read it again. Sid Field's screenplay, The Foundations of Screenwriting. I want to reread this. My friend Karen suggested this book, My Story Can Beat Up Your Story by Jeffrey Allen Schechter. And it's pretty short. It seems like it says 10 ways to toughen up your screenplay. And, we're not writing screenplays exactly, but screenplays are stories, and they're often structured even more tightly than novels. And somebody had asked, is that Theodora's workbook? And it is. So I am good friends with Theodora, and I was like, should I take her course or not? Because I've read her book about universal fantasy, and I grabbed the workbook. But then I just also decided, you know what? She had a sale running maybe last month on her course about universal fantasy. So I bought that. So I'm going to work my way through that course coming up as well. So that's kind of like the writer books that I have next on my list. And then many of you noticed this, like, look how thick this book is. Zettelkasten, the Anti-Net Zettelkasten. This is Scott Shepper. He has a YouTube channel here. I have a feeling this is going to be a very dense read because it is so big, and like watching his YouTube channels, you get a lot from it, but he is super, super passionate about the topic. So I'm excited to dive into it. But I did also get the much shorter How to Take Smart Notes and the Para Method from Tiago Forte, who also wrote Build a Second Brain, which is very good. So this book is very big. I'm a little nervous about it, but these are all kind of the same sort of thing, which is the idea of building a note-taking system that can help you think through your ideas rather than just catalog other people's ideas. You see a manga. So we were at a used gaming bookstore, and I saw the first episode / first manga of Fairy Tale, which is what George and I have been watching for the past year. It's like hundreds and hundreds of episodes, and I'm obsessed with it. And it's so funny because if you've never seen this, George had watched this years ago and was telling me that there's like he keeps saying, your Jackson from your Shadow Demon Saga is in this series, and his name is Gray. He has ice magic. It takes his shirt off inexplicably, like Gray is Jackson. And it's so funny because as I'm reading this, as I'm watching the show, there are so many similarities between this and my Shadow Demon Saga, even though it's not at all the same series. It just has so much. I have heard this. I have heard One Piece is really good. Are you reading the manga or just the anime, or both? I have not really gotten into reading a lot of manga, but I watch a lot of anime. And so I'm like, okay, we're gonna read this. It was at the used bookstore. It was like $2. I'm starting with number 1. I also have Attack on Titan, the first like bigger volume up here that I want to read too. I have heard of Obsidian, and I know a lot of people use that. But if you listen to Scott Shepper, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but I think I am. He is very against using software because he says that it takes away some of the thought processes because it doesn't allow you to make those connections yourself because the software is making those connections. I have not made a decision for myself yet on that, but we shall see. But most of the people that do Zettelkasten digitally do Obsidian, but I haven't played around with it before. But is it just his passion or is it actually true? I don't know. But we do have some other people that are actively building Zettelkasten. I have not finished watching Attack on Titan, and I actually mentioned this to George, but he's doing something for Lent, like 90 days before Lent, that he is not watching TV or extra screen time. So all of our watching is on hold. But I told him, I was like, we have to finish Attack on Titan because we never watched the second half of the last season. All right. Then I bought a fresh copy of the Desire Map, which is a workbook / book about basically like creating goals based on how you want to feel. And I've talked about this many times. And I had written so much in my previous one that I bought a new one. So I've been slowly working my way through the Desire Map. Then we have, this is the other writing one that I want to read, Save the Cat Writes for TV. So I feel like it'll be good for serials. Then I have a bunch of like kind of like fantasy romantasy. I'm just going to go through them super fast and then we can say goodbye. Can a Zettelkasten be a YouTube channel? If you look up Scott Shepard, or maybe you search for Anti-Net Zettelkasten here on YouTube, you will see his channel, but I don't think you could, because of the way the notes are taken, I don't think you could do your YouTube channel as a Zettelkasten, but you could create a YouTube channel about Zettelkasten, if that makes sense. Okay, Red Queen. This is my current read. I am this far into it. I want to read this whole series, but this is what I'm currently reading in paper. Anybody else here read like 3 books at once? That's kind of the way I do things. So I always have one nonfiction going. I have this going in paper. And then on my Kobo, I have Iron Flame. I am 53% into Iron Flame. Then I have, these are kind of my next books, but will I actually get through these in 1 year? Probably not, but I'll just share them with you really fast. Burn for Me by Alana Andrews. I've got Light Lark by Alex Astor, and I finally did buy A Court of Thorns and Roses, but I think I want to read the Throne of Glass series first, but I have that on my Kindle, so I don't have actual paper versions of that. Divine Rivals. I've had this for a year or more, and I want to read it. Heartless Hunter is another book of the month, Club 1. This is also Enemies to Lovers, which is what I am currently writing. Serpent and the Wings of Night. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And if you didn't see and you're a Hunger Games fan, there's going to be a new book with Hamish's story, and I'm like, I must pre-order that as well, but I want to read this and These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. So that's kind of my like stack that is sitting here, and I'm just determined to keep them out because I want to read them. And so part of my momentum when we talk about gaining momentum is that when I know I want to be reading more, the question is in alignment is, am I actually reading more? And if not, why not? And am I spending more time scrolling and being on social media or reading and checking emails, or am I reading? Like you can't always make the most of every minute that you have in a day, but am I spending time unintentionally sometimes when I could be reading? And the answer is always yes. And so I want to be reading more. So these are all going to be out, but a lot of these are either duologies or series. So it could take me a while. The doom scroll. Yes. Like let's get rid of the doom scroll. I just want to spend more time reading and enjoying the stories and having fun. And I think that there will be really good things coming out of that once I get back into my love of reading as well as learning and all of those things, and just really focusing in on what brings me joy. And of course, there are going to be things in life that we have to step back and say, well, I need to focus on things that I have to do, like cleaning doesn't always bring me joy. However, can I put on an audiobook while I'm cleaning? Can I carry my book around with me? Can I clean and then give myself 30 minutes as a reward to read? And just really thinking about how I can more intentionally spend my time in ways that align with where I want to go in my life. And it's really fun. Yeah, he's doing a program called Exodus 90. It's a Catholic men's thing about like 90 days. He's doing it with the local group. So he's very excited. Oh, if you decide to read Alana Andrews on a sprint, I'm with you. Sweet. We should do some reading sprints. I have not been able to do my Thursday night gaming just because time has not really allowed for it, but maybe we could do some reading sprints. I could really use some reading sprints. Maybe I'll set something up like that. But we went a little bit over time. I rushed through the book, so we can maybe talk a little bit more about books later, but I hope this was helpful. And I hope, if any of you also feel like, man, you've just been in negative momentum for a little while, I hope some of this helped you. And I hope that maybe you can take a little bit of time today to journal about your gratitude and really start thinking about what is it that I really want? What lights me up? And stop thinking so much about the external validation and things that we look for, and instead look inward and say, what can I control? Oh, Tabitha, happy birthday. That's so exciting. I have a great dinner. And then just really thinking, how can I it's almost like, since it is Valentine's, we'll pull it to this. It's almost like saying, how can I stop spending so much of my attention on everybody else and begin to love myself enough that I choose joy in my own life in the small ways that I can. And so that's your job for this week, is go out there and love yourself enough to do things that bring you joy and that make you happy and that feel aligned to you. So, all right, I love you guys. If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Exactly. And I mean, obviously we can love other people, but it's just like, love yourself. And that's where change really starts, and that's the one thing that no one can take away from us, is loving ourselves. And so it's a lifelong journey, and I'm on it. I'm on it with you all. All right. Happy birthday to Tabitha and anyone else who's celebrating birthdays this week. Happy Valentine's Day. You all have my heart. I super love you all. And I will see you next week. There will be some discussion about some live streams coming up for BCS. So maybe we'll add some sprints to that as well for reading coming up. So check the post tabs for BCS coming soon. All right. I love you guys. Bye.